What's up everyone? Welcome back to this three-part series where we take this Figma design and turn it into a React Native app. So as we can see here, we've already got the home page completed, and today we're going to be working on the details page. And let's show an example here. This is the details page. We'll click book now, get an alert. We get all the information about this experience, the title, location, description, price, rating, duration. And we can go back, click another one, and we see that it's updating dynamically and it's not just hard coded. So before jumping into the code, I like to just look at the design to figure out what exactly I'll need. So one thing I know is we'll need a background as the image that'll span almost the entire screen. And then we're also going to need a view down here that has a negative margin top so that it comes over the picture. Because as you can see here, it's overlaid and it gives that cool effect to the page. So we'll need that, and then this text is going to be on this picture, this item is going to be on the picture, and then we'll have this as part of this view, and all this information will be pretty simple to put on, as well as this button. So let's jump to VS Code and let's open our components folder and our details. Let's get started by creating a style sheet. So const styles is equal to stylesheet.create. And let's create the first one as container, which we do every time. It's basically just flex of one, and we'll do background color of color dot white. We have to import that first though. Import colors from just like that. Colors.white. Save that. And in here, let's delete this text. Add a style to the first view of container. Now, next thing we'll do is we'll set up an image background. Image background, and this is going to be what's going to take into account this background here. So the source is going to be coming from what we pass in. And actually, let's delete this. Before we do that, we need to be able to get the data that we're passing in. And if you remember from the previous video, we're passing it in here. So navigation.navigate, details, we're passing in item. So to actually get it, let's go back to details. In here, open up an object, route, and then navigation. And right here, we'll do const item is equal to route.params. Now, if we do a, we have a text item here with item, we can see if it outputs it properly. Let's try that. Okay, we'll say item dot title. Yeah, there we go. So it works, which means now we have all the information. And if we want to double check that again, we could do console log item, and we should see it pop up here. Save that. There it is. We have description, we have the image big, the duration, basically everything we need to make this page. So let's start with the image background. So it's going to be a source item dot image big to get the big version of the image. And we'll call this styles.background image. Now the next thing we'll need, we'll leave that empty for now, but we're also going to need a view. This view is what's going to hold all this stuff. But we want to start off by just creating the layout so that afterwards it's easy to just place things on. So it's going to have a style of description wrapper. This section is called description. So let's copy all those styles. So basically we could experiment a bit with the height and width and everything, but if we save this, we won't see anything yet. So let me put a height of, say, 80. Save that. Now we see the picture a bit. But what we really want is we want the picture to span like almost 60% of the page, and then this to overlay on it. So what we can do is, because we want this to work for any screen size, we need to get the height of the screen size. So up here, let's do const height is equal to dimensions dot get window and then dot height. So now if we type height here, it's going to span the entire height. But like we said, we want to aim for 60%. So times 0.6, it's going to be like that. And now we can move on to the description wrapper and try to make it span the entire width here and come over a bit. So if we do that, we'll have a background color. Let's create, let's just say black for now. Colors.black, just so we can see it. And let's set the height to 20. So we see that it appears, let's do 120. It appears under this section here and it doesn't span the entire thing. So we could again do height times 0.4, but instead, because we just want it to take up all the space it can take, we'll set it as flex of 1. Now it takes up the entire space it's given. And let's change this background to colors.white for what we want it as. And to get it coming up a bit onto the picture, we'll just change the margin top to -20. Save that. And we also want the border to be kind of curved, 25. So border radius, set that to 25. So let's jump back to our design to see what we need next. So we've got to start working on this and these items here. So let's get this back button done first. So let's go back here. I'm going to jump into the canyon so it looks similar. And to do that, we'll go inside the image background so that it appears on the image. And we'll have a touchable opacity. And within it, we'll have an icon for the back button. So let's get an icon from ntypo React native vector icons / ntypo, and we can place it in here. So ntypo. It's going to be name of chevron left, a size of 32, and the color of white. So let's check that out. Yeah, it appears up there, and I just want to make sure the size is right. So here it's 24, we put 32. I think 32 is going to be good because that's already not really noticeable, but let's add some styles to it. So style.back icon, and let's also do an on press. So we want on press, we want to navigate back to where we came from. So to do that, we could do navigation dot go back. And it's as simple as that. So let's copy this and bring it down. So now we just want to place the back icon. And if we look here, it's 20 from the left and basically 60 or 40 from the top. So let's do margin left is 20. And then margin top, let's set it to 40 and see what that looks like. And then what if we do 60? I think 60 looks better. It's easier to see. So let's leave it like that. Cool. So now we'll put the text on the image. So go back up to where we just put our icon, and outside of the touchable opacity, create a new view. This one will give it a style of styles.titles wrapper to wrap around the titles. and we'll create the first title here, which is going to be the item.title. Give this one a style as well, styles.item title. And now we want to get this to appear as we have it here. So to do that, we have to create a view around it and then set the flex direction to row so they appear next to each other. And then we could work from there. So let's create that view. Give it a style of styles.location wrapper. And we see that the first item that we have is an icon, and then the second item is the location. So let's put that icon down first. Name is going to be location pin, and size is of 24, with the color being colors.white. Now we'll need the text under, styles.location text, and this is going to be the item.location. So if we save that, we can see them having appeared here, and let's copy all these styles so that we can edit them. So let's start with the title itself. If we jump back here, we could see that it's a margin of 20 from the left. So let's type that in, margin horizontal of 20. That pushes it over, nice. And one quick thing, we see that it's appearing at the top here, but what we really want is to have it at the bottom. So to do that, go back to background image and set justify content to space between. Now here we've got the back icon that stays at the same spot, but now we have our text that should be appearing here that's getting covered by this item, the view at the bottom. So to fix that, we're gonna add some bottom margin on the titles wrapper. So let's go margin bottom, and we'll say something like 40. Now that brings it up. And keep in mind, the reason we have to add this margin is because we placed this white item covering the background, which means it's kind of like overlaying it. So stuff from this background can appear under it. But by adding this margin, we're gonna make sure that that never happens, and everything, we can always see it on the page. So let's start adding some styles to the title. So we know that it's Lato bold 32, so font family, font size is 32, and color is going to be colors.white. Next, we'll move on to the location wrapper, and like we had said before, we need a flex direction of row to make them appear next to each other. We also want to align the items in the center. Cool. And we'll give it a margin top as well to kind of space it off of 5. Save that. Now for the text, Lato bold 16. So I'm just going to copy it from here. Let's give it 16. Perfect. So now we see this works. Let's go to this one. Awesome. Looks great. Okay, perfect. So the next step, let's get this heart icon with the little circle down on the page. So we're done with the image background. Everything we needed is in there. So now we'll move on to the next view, which is the description wrapper. And in here, create a new view. This is going to be called styles heart wrapper. And this is going to be what holds that heart item. So this once again is going to be an icon. And the name is going to be heart, with the size being of 32, and the color being orange. So if we save that, we see it appear here. Now let's copy the styles, or the only new style that we set up, paste it in, And in here, because we'll want it to kind of pop out like that, we could set it as a absolute positioning. Now what that does, if we do that, absolute, is it gives us complete control as to where we want to place it in regards to the top, left, bottom, and right sides of this view. So in our case, we want a right of, say 40, I think. Yeah, we'll do 40. So right of 40, you'll see it'll jump to this side right away. And we also want a top of, we're just gonna have to play around with it, but let's try minus 20, minus 30, might be too much, but we'll see once we add the width and height to it. So let's do that now. So width is going to be 64 and height is going to be 64 as well. Now we also need a background color to see this. Now you're going to see the rectangle appear. Let's make that circular. Border radius 64 equal to the width and height. Looks good. Let's justify the content center and align the items in the center, just to center everything off. That looks really good. But now we could see that it kind of blends in. It doesn't pop as much as this one. And the reason for that is because we added some drop shadow. So if we look up React Native drop shadow, usually I just go copy this and paste it in because it's the easiest way, in my opinion, to add some drop shadow. Save that, and there you go. Now it looks a lot closer, or almost exactly like this. So the next step now, let's get this description item here, and then all this text as well before moving on to the Book Now button. So jump back up, create a new view. This is going to be the description, so styles.description text wrapper. So it's going to hold these two text items. So the first one is going to be text description. We'll give it a style of styles.description title. Now the second one is going to be the actual description. So item.description. And we'll give it a style of description.text. So let's style that. Save it so we see it. Cool. Paste it at the bottom. So for the description text wrapper, we want a margin from the top of 30. And we also want a horizontal margin of 20. Nice. Now we could already move on to the title. This is the title, and it's going to be Lato Bold 24. So I'm going to copy it from up here again. It's going to be 24 and colors.black. Save that. Now for the text, we'll want it a margin top of 20. And this is going to be Lato medium 16. Now that's too dark, and we also don't have medium in our fonts. So I'm just going to set it to regular. So Lato regular. And this is going to be gray. See, I find that too light, so I'm going to go with dark gray, which we had set earlier. Just makes it, pop a bit more. One thing to keep in mind though is if we go and add, so let's open up the data. So this is discover data. If I go add a bunch of other sentences to this text, right? It's just going to keep going. Oops, it's on this one. It's just going to keep going. And the problem with that is eventually, if this is too long, it's going to push all of this stuff out of the picture. And because this isn't scrollable, then the user will never be able to click it. So to fix that, what we can do is we can add a height to this so that just in case it cuts off the text that it's not supposed to have, just like that. So that's going to force the person behind the computer here to make sure that the text they put is short enough to fit in this height. Let's close these. So if we go back to our Grand Canyon, looks good. And the next step is going to be this info section. Jump back to VS Code. In here, we'll put it right under the description text wrapper. So let's go view, and we'll call it stop. Oops, sorry about that. We'll call it style is equal to styles info wrapper. Now in here, we'll have another view. This one is going to be one of the actual info items. So one of these, and we'll call this one styles.info item. Now in the item, we know that we need this text, and then we need these two text items. So let's start with the first text item. This is going to be, in our case, the first one's price. So let me fix that. It's not duration, it's price. Give it a style, styles.info title. Now, similar to what we had to do up here, when we have two things right next to each other, we have to create a view to wrap them and then set a flex direction of row. So here we'll set a view to wrap them. So styles.info text wrapper. And in here we'll have two text items. First one being the item.price. Let's add a $sign in front of it. With the second one being per person, as we could see here. And then we'll change it for all the other ones manually. So add some styles to it. So styles.info text. And let's copy that, add it to the /person text item. So this can be info sub text. Save that, and we'll see it appear here. Now what we can do is let's copy each info item. So let's copy it 3 times, or paste it 2 more times actually. The second one is going to be rating. And the third one is going to be duration. Now for the second one, instead of price, we'll want to get the rating, and the third one, instead of price, we'll want duration. Now the last thing is changing this subtext. So it's going to be on 5, and this is going to be hours. Save that. And one more thing, let's add a space to each one, because that's going to give it this effect here where it's kind of spaced off. Or actually, seems like we only have to do that for the hours one. So let me cancel those, save it for hours. Looks good. All right, let's copy the styles and make sure to only copy them once for all of them, because otherwise you'll have lots of styles there and duplicates. So let's start with the info wrapper. So this is the wrapper holding all these items. So we want them in a row. So let's do that. So flex direction is row. Already looks better. We also know that there's a margin of 20 on the horizontal axis, so margin of 20. And we also want these to be spaced out like we have here evenly. So we can just do that pretty simply by saying justify content space between. And there you go. Now it places it exactly like we had it here. So moving on to the info item, I don't think we need to add styles just yet to that. So let's go to info title. So the title is this item here. We know Actually, real quick, it's too close up here. We need a margin of 20. So let's add a margin top of 20. Okay, cool. So for the info title, we want it as Lato bold 12 with gray. So let me copy it from up here. So we want Lato bold of 12, color being gray. Okay, cool. We want the info text wrapper. So that's what's holding these items here. We know that that's going to be a flex direction of row once again. So let's do that. Flex direction of row. We also want to make sure that they're perfectly aligned. So let's do align items. And we'll do it flex end. I don't think it'll change anything, but at least just in case if some things are smaller than others, it'll fix it. And then we'll do a margin top of 5. Save that. Now into the actual text, I'll copy it from up here. Oh, this should not be all caps, just like that. So this is going to be Lato bold 24 and orange. Oh, you see, that's why the flex end here is good, because otherwise it would look like that. So putting flex end brings it all to the bottom. So that's the first one. And now let's go to the subtext. This is going to be Lato bold 14 and gray. Awesome. So we're almost done now. All we need to add is this book now button and we'll be good to go. So let's put it at the bottom of the info wrapper. So right under it, we'll create a new view, or actually this is going to be a button. So let's do a touchable opacity. In here, we'll have a text that says book now, and the text, we'll give it a style of styles.button text. And up here on the button itself, we'll have a style of styles.button wrapper. Now let's save that. Oh, book nor, I want book now. Book now. Let's get the styles copied to the bottom. So if we look at our design, we know that it's 20 from the left and right. So let's give it a margin horizontal of 20. We also know that it's a margin of 30 from the top to be spaced out properly. Margin top is 30. What else? We know the background color is colors.orange, right? There we see it better. And we also want everything to be centered. So let's do align items center. Save that. Now it's way too flat, so let's add some padding inside. So we'll say 15 on the vertical side, and we don't need to do anything on the horizontal side because it's already centered. So let's do padding vertical of 15. Save that. Looks a lot better. Now in terms of the actual text, I'm going to copy the text from subtext. And here we know that it's going to be Lato bold 18 and white. 18 colors.white. Now jumping back to button wrapper, I'm just going to add a quick border radius. And I will make this 10. Now I feel like to make this look a bit more like the design, we can push it down a bit. So let's push it down 40 instead of 30. I think that already looks a bit better. And now the last thing, let's jump to the touchable opacity. And when we press it, let's make it do something. So on press, let's have an alert that says you booked a trip. Save that. Let's try it. You booked a trip. So there you have it, guys. Congratulations for making it this far in the series. You now have a fully functional app UI here. You could scroll here, you can scroll here, and then you could click these to get a better view of what they look like and even book a trip. So this is pretty cool. You also learned about navigation with the tab navigator. And if you were building out a real app, you could build out these pages the way you see fit. But for the sake of this tutorial, we only built out the homepage. But yeah, congrats on making it this far. Let me know if you have any questions in the description down below, in the comments. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Take care.